Listen! On January 16, 2023, the Italian police and the forces raided a private clinic in the capital city of Sicily named Palermo. They have had their intelligence of the presence of an Italian most wanted mafioso there. Seeing the police, he wanted to escape but couldn't. The first words he said to the police were, "I am Matteo Messina Denaro," and he didn't resist his arrest. Italy's most wanted criminal and the mafia boss of bosses, Matteo Messina Denaro, was arrested on Monday after 30 years on the run.
Illustrious corpses that cemented his bloody legacy. First,
Italy's most wanted mafia boss has finally been captured after spending decades.
The chief of the mafia organization, and so he could take advantage in all these.
In custody after 30 years on the run, having been tried and led away, Italy's #1 fugitive after arresting the mafia boss.
A day to celebrate for us, and we showed that the mafia can be beaten.
Holds the key to some of the most heinous crimes.
He was arrested at a clinic in Sicilian capital Palermo at around 10 a.m., where he was receiving treatment for an undisclosed medical condition, although reports suggest that he had been having periodic treatment for colon cancer under the false name of Andrea Bonafede. The raid was carried out by more than 100 specialized agents with the anti-mafia Carabinieri in the early hours of the morning. You know where they took him after the arrest. The Italian police and intelligence didn't risk keeping him in any regular prison of the country. They actually took him to the San Lorenzo maximum security barracks in the Sicilian capital. He was the last of 3 longtime fugitive top-level mafia bosses who had for decades eluded capture. He went into hiding as a young man, and hundreds of police officers had been tasked with tracking him down over the years. His arrest closes a chapter in the history of brutal crimes in Italy. Now let's find out why he was so high up in the most wanted list of the Italian authorities and Interpol in the first place. Matteo Messina Denaro was a ruthless operator who once reportedly boasted that he could fill a cemetery with his victims. 60-year-old Messina Denaro was a leading figure in Cosa Nostra, the real-life Sicilian crime syndicate depicted in the Godfather movies. He was once considered a candidate to be the Sicilian Mafia's boss of bosses after the deaths of Bernardo Provenzano in 2016 and Salvatore Riina in 2017. Messina Denaro was born in the southwestern Sicilian town of Castelvestrano in 1962, the son of a mafioso. He followed his father into the mob and at 15 was already carrying a gun. Police believe he carried out his first killing when he was 18. The Castelvetrano clan was allied to the Corleonesi, headed by Salvatore the Beast Riina, who became the undisputed boss of bosses thanks to his ruthless pursuit of power at any cost. Nicknamed Diabolic and Usiccio, the skinny one, Messina Denaro became his protege and showed he could be just as pitiless as his master, picking up 20 life prison sentences in trials held in absentia for his role in an array of mob murders. He's also thought to be Cosa Nostra's last secret keeper. Many informers and prosecutors believe that he holds all the information and the names of those involved in several of the most high-profile crimes by the mafia. He was the youngest member of a leadership group within the Sicilian Mafia that took control of the mafia in the early 1980s, essentially by massacring all their rivals, and he then mounted a major attack on the Italian state. Okay, now let's look at the details of his crimes that emerged in the many court hearings. The police say that he was heavily involved in the planning of the 1992 murders of anti-mafia prosecutors Paolo Borsellino, Giovanni Falcone, and Falcone's wife, and several of their bodyguards. These were the crimes that shocked the nation and sparked a crackdown that led to Riina's arrest in 1993. He was also held responsible for subsequent bombings in Rome, Florence, and Milan in 1993 that killed 10 people in an apparently failed bid to force the government to halt its war on the Sicilian mob, known as Cosa Nostra, which means our thing. He's also accused by prosecutors of being solely or jointly responsible for numerous other murders in the 1990s. In 1993, he was also found guilty of helping organize the kidnappings of Giuseppe Di Matteo, 12 years old, to try to dissuade the boy's father from giving evidence against the mafia. The boy was held for 2 years before he was strangled and his body dissolved in acid. He had also strangled a woman while she was pregnant, according to Italian media. Having been a wanted man by Europol for nearly 30 years, he was Cosa Nostra's longest hiding fugitive. Messina Denaro went into hiding in 1993 as a growing number of turncoats started providing details of his role in the mob. Despite his powerful protection network, Denaro had become increasingly isolated in recent years, according to mafia informants. Year after year, Italian police investigators relentlessly seized his businesses and arrested more than 100 of his confederates, including cousins, nephews, and his sister. Little by little, Italian prosecutors scorched the earth around Denaro, cutting off all contact with his family and his supporters who protected him in hiding. Police also seized valuable businesses linked to Messina Denaro, leaving him increasingly monetarily isolated as well. But every time isolators would seem to get closer to their target, Denaro would once again fade away. Like a ghost, he would disappear and reappear around the world. Former mobsters claimed to have seen him in Spain, England, Germany, and South America. Others said he had never left his stronghold in Castelvetrano in the province of Trapani. Police said last September that he was still able to issue commands relating to the way the mafia was run in the area around Trapani. Over the years, there have been numerous failed attempts to arrest him. The fact that he managed to escape arrest for so many years showed that he had a fierce, loyal following under government roofs. In May 2011, police believed they were surveilling Messina Denaro at a farmhouse near his hometown of Castelvetrano, but they failed to capture him despite the involvement of hundreds of officers. His DNA was later found at the site. Another suspected attempt resulted in the arrest of his sister Patrizia and several others of his associates in 2013. According to police embarrassment, was the arrest of a British man at a restaurant in The Hague in 2021 after the anti-mafia police wrongly identified him as Messina Denaro. In 2013, his sister, Patrizia Messina Denaro, was sentenced to 14 years in prison, a term she is still serving for being a member of the mafia. A suspected sighting of him in a car in September that year led to a manhunt and hundreds of tips. In the clip, recorded from a closed-circuit security camera on a gravel road in the province of Agrigento in Sicily, two men can be seen in an SUV. According to investigators, the balding passenger with glasses was Denaro. He communicated with other mafiosi via piccini, small pieces of paper sometimes written in code distributed by messengers. A mass of these notes was found in 2006 when police caught Bernardo Provenzano, who had led Cosa Nostra after Rina's arrest. In a letter to a contact, Messina Denaro said he couldn't believe how careless Provenzano had been. In 2015, police discovered he was communicating with his closest collaborators via the same Piccini system, where tiny, folded paper notes were left under a rock at a farm in Sicily. Investigators spent decades searching the homes and businesses of the boss's known allies on the island. They looked in particular for hiding places in grottos, caverns, or even bunkers inside buildings where the man nicknamed Diabolic could be concealed. Before he went into hiding, Messina Denaro was known for driving expensive cars and his taste for wearing finely tailored suits and Rolex watches. General Pasquale Angelosanto of the ROS Special Force Unit of the Carabinieri added that Messina Denaro was wearing a watch worth 35,000 euros when officers detained him. In police pictures, Messina Denaro was seen wearing a brown fur-lined jacket, glasses, and a brown and white woolly hat. He added that over the years, Carabinieri police had arrested more than 100 alleged accomplices of Messina Denaro, including his sister and other family members, and seized assets worth around 150 million euros or $162 million, crucially undermining his support network. In recent years, anti-mafia security forces have been closing in on Messina Denaro's circle, seizing around 3 billion euros or $3.25 billion in assets belonging to companions, relatives, and associates thought to be supporting his life in hiding, and making many arrests between 2009 and 2010. During his years on the run, he had a series of lovers and passed time by playing video games, according to Italian media reports. Now, Denaro is no longer a free man, and is likely to spend his remaining days behind the bars alone. He never married, but was known to have a number of lovers. Denaro wrote that he had a daughter, but had never met her. He's also believed to have a son, but little is known about him as well. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni traveled to Sicily to congratulate police chiefs after the arrest. "We have not won the war, we have not defeated the mafia, but this battle was a key battle to win, and it is a heavy blow to organized crime," she said. Now, investigators will attempt to piece together his long period in hiding, including where he was sheltered and the network of people who protected him. Messina Denaro's name is associated with the Corleone clan, a branch of the Sicilian mafia which, after beating its opponents in Sicily, declared war on the Italian Republic in the early 1990s. Led by Salvatore Riina, Messina Denaro's mentor, the Corleone clan was declared responsible for a campaign of murderous terrorist violence against the state. All of this was aimed at trying to get the state to back down from a major onslaught against organized crime that had been gaining momentum, but eventually that onslaught continued and Messina Denaro was the last of that leadership group still at large. Let's hope for the best for peace in the world. See you again in the next video.